After bringing Jay Norvell into this program in 2022, things were expected to start looking up for this program last year, and it didn't really pan out the way that a lot of Colorado State fans saw it happening. However, entering 2023, this very well could be the year where this team starts to take those next steps in climbing the ranks in the Mountain West Conference. You got a lot of returning talent and a lot of things to be happy about from last season. So can Colorado State take that next step and become a top-tier team in the Mountain West Conference, or is it going to take another year or two for Jay Norvell's system to really settle in to the Colorado State program? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm previewing and predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer. If I haven't done your favorite team, so maybe just one of the handful of teams I haven't done in the Mountain West Conference, or you're a fan of a MAC or Conference USA team, please hit the subscribe button down below. I promise I will get to you. Predictions are almost over. We will be getting to all those shortly, but there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel by subscribing. You're doing one right now by watching the video. You can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you guys are willing and able to do to help me support my channel. But enough about me. Let's talk about Colorado State football in 2023. Hey, how do we do things around here? Well, we're going to go through a roster overview and look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Colorado State Ram football schedule. We'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's talk about the Colorado State Rams here in 2023. Let's take a look at the quarterback room first, as Jackson Stratton is going to be coming back to this team. Figures to be the backup for this team this season. However, when you take a look, it's all about Clay Millen. Now, his stat line on the surface is not going to make you jump out of your shoes by any means. Had 1,910 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions last season. However, it was a smaller sample size than most. He only threw 234 passes, and if you take a look at that completion percentage number, whoa, it's 72% from last season. There's a lot to build off for Clay Millen here. If he gets a little bit more involved in the offense, which we'll talk about why I think he will here in 2023 in a little bit. Clay Millen at very minimum, if he gets a little bit more chances to pass, can be a 2,500-yard passer, can be a guy with 20 touchdowns and really accelerate this Colorado State program. But there are a couple reasons why I think he's going to get a little bit more involved this season. Ajon Vivens and David Bailey are going to be gone off this team. Now, besides Avery Morrow, who we'll talk about in a little bit, everyone else struggled to break 100 yards last year. Vivens was the only guy to do it at 104, and David Bailey is a depth piece. He is transferred out of the program. Now, speaking of Avery Morrow, he was the team's leading rusher last season with 834 yards and 4 touchdowns. However, his season is going to be in question as of right now. There are a lot of legal things, personal things that he is dealing with. So we're going to hope for the best for Avery Morrow, but because of his legal issues, he has been suspended by the team for an indefinite period of time. So we'll see what that leads to. But if I were Colorado State, I'd start preparing as if you don't have Avery Morrow for 2023. So they got a couple of transfers into this program. Van Shield does come back, but I do believe these two transfers will lead this rushing attack. You got Kobe Johnson and KJ Edwards that are going to be highlighting the running back room out of the transfer portal for Colorado State. Wide receiver room, you lose Ty McCulloch, who was the third leading receiver last year, only 119 yards for him. Dante Wright, I do not believe played last season, but has been a pretty key piece to this Colorado State wide receiver room in his past seasons, especially in 2021. You are going to lose him, as well as Melquan Stovall, who had 106 yards this year. So you do get your two main guys back. The story, though, in this wide receiver room revolves around Torrey Horton. Could be an All-American type player, definitely a first-team All-Mountain West player, and maybe one of, if not the best, wide receiver in the Mountain West Conference. 1,131 yards and 8 touchdowns last season. Again, he did all that in the very, very small passing attack sample size that Colorado State had last year. Justice Ross Simmons will also come back, 424 yards and 3 touchdowns for him, as well as Lewis Brown. And then you do get a transfer, and Dylan Goffney's a 3-star coming over from SMU, and a freshman in Silas Evans enters the room as well. So you got a lot of talent in this wide receiver room. Now, the tight end room does take a hit this year, as Tanner Arkin is going to be gone. However, Dallin Holker and Vince Brown are a couple transfers coming in that should lead this tight end room very nicely for Colorado State. Now, on the offensive line, Barry Wesley is gone, but Jacob Gardner and Tavis Tuioti, I believe I pronounced that last name right, but again, I probably didn't. They both come back, as well as some transfers, and Oliver Jervis and Drew Moss that get into this program. So, taking a look at this offense as a whole, get Clay Millen a little bit more involved, I think you got yourself a pretty good offense here. But the defense was sneaky good for Colorado State last year. Let's take a look at what they lost from last season. Well, CJ Onyeka is a big loss, was the team's fourth leading tackler, 3.5 sacks on the defensive line for them. He is gone, as well as Troy Golden. He is going to be leaving this team, 19 tackles in the sack as well. However, your sack leader by a wide margin last season was Mohamed Kamara, 44 tackles, which is good for a top 10 tackler, 8.5 sacks last season. Glad to have him back, as well as guys like Grady Kelly, Cam Barreto, and James Mitchell, as well as, again, some more transfers coming into this program. Tony Pierce and Matt Thomas are some guys that are coming in to help bolster up this defensive line. Now, the linebacking unit. This is where you do lose a lot of talent. Daquan Jackson was a triple-digit tackler last year, exactly at 100. He is gone. Cameron Carter was your team's third leading tackler. Jackson, by the way, the second leading tackler. So both those guys are gone, as well as guys like Drew Kulik, another top 10 tackler who is gone, and then Tavian Brown leaves as well. So who is left in this linebacker room? Well, Chase Wilson is back, 29 tackles, 2.5 sacks from last season. Justin Sanchez, and you guessed it, some more transfers. Tremaine Mejia-Pastor and Caden Stewart are going to be some good transfers in to this linebacker room for Colorado State. Now in the defensive back room, you do lose a couple pretty big pieces here, as Tywan Francis, who had 32 tackles, 2 pass defended. He is gone, as well as Angel King, 24 tackles, half a sack, 3 pass defended. But a lot of your big key pieces in the secondary do come back. Jack Howell had 108 tackles. That led the team. Also was tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions. That number was tied with Aiden Hector. Look at that. He also comes back. Henry Blackburn is back after being second on the team with 8 passes defended. And then Chigozie Anuzian led the team with 9 passes defended last year. So there is a lot of good talent still coming back on the defense that was very good last season. Your head coach is Jay Norvell. Your offensive coordinator is Matt Moom. And your defensive coordinator is Freddie Banks. As now we take a look at the Ram football schedule here in 2023. Any game at home is going to be underlined, while any game on the road will be in italics or that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think Colorado State's going to win easily. Any game in yellow is a game that, okay, might be a back and forth 50-50 type game, but I still think Colorado State's able to win, and red is a loss. You start out your year with a couple Power 5 opponents, but in week 1, you got the Washington State Cougars. Now, there is a clear level of hierarchy that the Pac-12 Conference has this year. I think there's a clear top 6 and a clear bottom 6, and unfortunately, Washington State just happens to fall in that bottom 6, but I think they're the best, put this in heavy quotes, bottom 6 team in the Pac-12 Conference this year. Cameron Ward comes back. He's got a whole new group of wide receivers that I think are very talented around him. Some nice key pieces on defense coming back as well. It's going to be a challenging one for Colorado State to win. I think Washington State gets the better of the Rams. Cameron Ward being a big difference maker here, and Colorado State will lose their first game of the year. And then really early bye week, you play one game and all right, it's already time to take a week off. You got to play 11 straight games after this. That's going to take its toll for sure, but you got to go on the road to play Colorado next, and I think that is a loss as well. Although I do not think that Deion Sanders and company are going to have a super successful season in terms of how many wins they have. I think they're going to be very competitive, still a very talented football team. There's a lot of talented transfers coming in. As we know, Deion's come in and flipped Boulder totally upside down. It's hanging from the rafters right now. But I do think Colorado's going to be able to beat their in-state rival in Colorado State, handing the Rams their second loss of the year. I also believe that Middle Tennessee, a program out of Conference USA, I think they're going to be one of Conference USA's best entering this season, are also going to be giving the Rams a defeat here in 2023. A lot of really good talent on that team. It's been a pretty solid team out of the ranks of Conference USA in the past, and with a new look Conference USA, that's going to be one of the best teams in that conference. The Colorado State is going to give them a real good fight, but I think Middle Tennessee walks away from that game victorious. So Colorado State to open the year, 3 straight losses, but it's okay, Rams fans, because I do think you're going to be able to beat Utah Tech, formerly Dixie State, which is what I almost said there, fairly handedly. So that is a win there for the Colorado State Rams. Then you got to go on the road and play the Utah State Aggies. And while Utah State, Blake Anderson, the head coach, it's a team that might definitely fall back down towards the bottom of the Mountain West Conference this season. That program still is not all bare bones. That's a program that I still really, again, feel like they definitely have the potential to be able to surprise some people in the Mountain West Conference this season, especially with what some people think of that program right now. If you think they lost a lot, 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, they lost even more talent. Again, there are still some really good pieces there. Returning quarterback comes back. I think there's enough pieces in place here for Utah State to be able to beat Colorado State as the Aggies hand Colorado State their fourth loss in 5 games here in 2023, and Boise State's going to hand them 5 and 6. There's too much talent for Colorado State to handle. Taylon Green is, in my opinion, bona fide the best quarterback in the entire conference. Really good skill position unit, a lot of key pieces on defense. Boise State's going to be really good, really good this season. They're going to sit at the top of the Mountain West Conference, I believe, again this season. So too much down for Colorado State. So maybe a disappointment. Colorado State fans thinking, oh no, is this going to go downhill again this season? However, I do think there are a lot of manageable games in the back half of your schedule to be able to turn it around. On the road at UNLV, I believe that is a win for this team. I think Colorado State, with the way that they played defense last year, I know they did lose some pretty key pieces, but if they can get that defense to play as good, if not even better than what it did last year, and this offense is maybe moving at a little bit of a better pace, if Clay Millen has shown that he has improved, maybe even a little bit more involved in this offense, improved not necessarily the right term, but a little bit more involved in this offense, this rushing attack, if it happens to be without Avery Morrow, is starting to move as well. There are enough pieces here for Colorado State to go on the road and pull off a much-needed win against the UNLV Rebels. It's desperation time at this point in the season for the Rams, I think, and I think they will get that win there against UNLV. Then you got this game against Air Force coming up that's going to be really tricky to win, but Air Force, they lost a lot on the offensive end. Hazik Daniels, Brad Roberts, the 2 leading receivers. Again, they are the military academy team that likes to throw the ball the most frequently. They are all gone. Now, the defense, a lot of key pieces coming back. Same thing with Colorado State. It's going to be a defensive slugfest, but I feel like Colorado State has more than enough pieces on offense to be able to exploit it and to be able to outscore the Air Force Falcons. Call it what you will, an upset, which I definitely think it is. I think Colorado State gets that upset win over Air Force, and they're building some momentum. However, I think they're going to run into a little bit of a buzzsaw here as Wyoming, with a returning quarterback in Andrew Peasley. We'll see how much he can improve this year, but there is a ton returning on that defense for the Wyoming Cowboys. Could be one of, if not the best units the Mountain West Conference has to offer here in 2023, and the offense has some good skill position players as well. So there's your 6th loss of 2023, which means the way I'm predicting it, you're going to have to win out here, and it's just a very tough game coming up with San Diego State. I do think you end up dropping that game there to the Aztecs. Again, while they did lose a lot of starters on the defensive end, that is a San Diego State team that I still think is going to play some really good defense, and offensively, it's a team that found a spark towards the end of last season. If that can continue into 2023, they could be a very dangerous team, could make a run at another Mountain West Conference championship this upcoming season. So I think Colorado State can end up dropping that game there, but I do think you win out from this point on. There's no way in my mind, at least, that Nevada does not show some improvements from last season. They were one of the worst teams in FBS last year. I definitely see some improvement entering, but not enough to compete with Jay Norvell's new team here in Colorado State. So Jay Norvell's old school will lose to his new school, and then Hawaii's a team that I just don't have a lot of confidence in entering the Mountain West Conference this year. I think Colorado State's definitely the better team there. So Rams fans, I do have you falling just short of a bowl game. Non-conference play does not help with that. You got 2 Power 5 opponents and then a pretty solid group of 5 team there that you got to go on the road to play as well. But there are enough winnable games on this schedule that it would not surprise me to see Colorado State make a bowl game. How I have it playing out, though, I have the Rams falling just short. But don't be surprised if this team rockets up the standings in the Mountain West Conference this year. That's going to do it for my thoughts on the Rams. Leave yours in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video.